Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm going to share with you how I made this awesome Hatch Chile Dip. I went to a Hatch Chile Roasting Event. I had a great time. I made some homemade flour tortillas to go with the second recipe that I'm going to share with you at the end of this video, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But to make my Hatch Chile Dip, this is how I did it. These are the ingredients that I'm going to be using. I have my Hatch chilies that I've went on and I've cleaned and taken the char off, and I'll share with you later on the video how that comes and the process in doing that. I'll show you a little clip of that. I'm going to make some homemade tortilla chips to go with my dip. I've got my shredded Mexican cheese, some sour cream, some cream cheese, and my garlic. So first, what I like to do is I'm going to be using 2 cloves of garlic. I go on and I like to smush my garlic, just kind of press it down really firm with my knife, and then I go ahead and I minced my garlic, and this dip comes out so good. This is something that my husband said you would get in a restaurant. So once I went on and I've minced my 2 cloves of garlic, I'm going to use a couple of my fresh roasted Hatch chilies. Now if you're not familiar with Hatch chilies come from Hatch, New Mexico. They come in different heat levels from mild to medium to hot to extra hot, and the chilies that I have are the medium heat level chilies because we're going to have a variety of mouths that will be eating the chilies, and so I didn't want them to be super spicy, and so we chose the medium to go with for our family. And Hatch chilies have a similar look to them as Anaheim chilies, but Hatch chilies have definitely a more deeper flavor, more robust flavor, and once you have some Hatch chilies, you will know there's no going back. And so these are absolutely delicious. And so what I did was I went on and I chopped up my chilies, and I reserved about a teaspoon from my chopped up chilies. And you can use either about 2 to 3. I'm using 2 today. About 2 to 3 of chilies, depending on how much you want in there, and depending also on your spice level. So this is going to be a medium spice with the ingredients that I'm using. So I have 4 ounces of cream cheese, and then my cream cheese is nice and soft. Now in addition to the cream cheese, I'm also going to put in some sour cream. The sour cream, you want to use a thicker sour cream like the one that I'm using and the brand that I'm using, and we're using a 1/2 cup. So that's 4 ounces of softened cream cheese and a 1/2 cup of sour cream. Next, I'm going to add a little seasoning, and I'm going to put in a fourth of a teaspoon of regular table salt. Now this recipe can be doubled, and this recipe is enough for about 4 to 5 people, but you can definitely double if you want to make it for a crowd, or even triple it if you like. And with football season kicking off, this is a great dip to entertain with your family and friends during those football games. This would definitely be a crowd pleaser. You can make it based on your desired heat level. I'm going to put in 1 cup of the shredded 4 cheese Mexican cheese blend, and then I'm also going to put in the minced garlic, that was 2 cloves, and also our 2 chilies that we also chopped up, reserving 1 teaspoon, and I'm going to put that as our garnish on top. Now once I have all the ingredients in my bowl, I'm going to go ahead and give everything a really good mix, and it's important that you want to make sure that you blend and mix well the sour cream and the softened cream cheese, so that way you don't have little pockets of cream cheese in your dip. So you want to make sure that it's all mixed and blended well. Now if you don't have the fresh roasted chilies, you can also use the Hatch chilies that come diced in the can, and the can is a 4-ounce size of the Hatch chilies. Now for whatever reason, if you can't find the 4-ounce cans of the Hatch chilies, you can use where it says green chilies or green mild chilies. You can use that as a substitute. And if you are using the canned chilies, make sure that you drain off the liquid first. Once my dip is mixed thoroughly, I put it in my cast iron skillet. This is a 6-inch cast iron skillet, and the volume is a 1.5 quart volume. So if you're not using, or if you don't have a cast iron skillet like I do, you can use a casserole dish or like a small baking dish that has the 1.5 quart capacity. And if you're not sure if your dish has 1.5 quart capacity, you can use a measuring cup. Fill your measuring cup with water up to the 1.5 quart capacity. Pour that into your dish, and then that'll give you an indication of the volume of the dish that you're going to be using. Now, if you're doubling the recipe, you can go on and use an 8-inch cast iron skillet or either an 8-inch casserole dish, an 8x8 casserole dish. So once I've gone on and I've smoothed out my dip, then I'm going to top it with some cheese. This is 1/3 cup of the 4 cheese blend that I'm putting on top, all over, just like that. Make sure you put it nicely around the edges as well, because as our dip bakes up, you're going to have that nice cheesy crust that forms around the edge, and so it's going to be great. So our dip is going to bake in our oven at 350 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. It's going to puff up, our cheese is going to melt, it's going to be a nice light golden brown on top. Also, if you're doubling up the recipe, be sure to adjust your cooking time and give yourself an extra 10 minutes or so for your dip to bake up. But be mindful that you always want to check on it to see how it's baking up about halfway through that baking time. I have about 20 tortillas here, corn tortillas, that I went on and I've cut into triangle squares, and I'm going to go ahead and cook up a homemade batch of tortilla chips. I have my nice hot oil. I've got about an inch of oil in my pan. I put my chips in. The key to making homemade tortilla chips is that you don't want them to cook too long, and so you want to be mindful and watch them. They only take about 2 to 3 minutes to cook up, and as soon as they're brown, you just flip them a couple times, and as soon as they start to get that nice golden brown color, you can go ahead and take them out. I drained them on some paper towel, and then I also put a little bit sprinkled of kosher salt. You can also use table salt as well, but kosher salt or either coarse salt will work best. Well, our dip is out of the oven. It has baked at that 350 for 22 minutes. It is looking good. It is nice and golden brown on top. And what I did was, the last couple of minutes when I saw my dip was getting done, I went on and I put the garnish right there in the middle for that last couple of minutes of the cooking time. Well, it is piping hot. I have my tortilla chips. These are our homemade chips that we made up. I went on and cooked up a couple batches. This is the kosher salt that I like to sprinkle on my tortilla chips, and you want to do it when you first take them out and the tortilla chips are nice and warm. That's when you want to sprinkle your salt on. Well, I'm going to go ahead and serve us up some. I'm going to also share that other recipe that I actually got from my friend, and so I'm going to put a couple of tortilla chips here on my plate. This dip is so good. I already know I'm going to be making another batch before this weekend is up, but I'm going to get your bite ready with those homemade chips right there. I don't know if y'all can see the steam, but this dip is hot. The plate is hot, but this is your bite. Go ahead and take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite and see how we did today. Oh my goodness. Y'all, we do not need to go out and have no appetizers or anything like that at a restaurant. We're going to stay home. We're going to have this dip. We're going to entertain ourselves and have a good time on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon. There you have it. Well, I hope you give this recipe a try, but let's go ahead and I'm going to share with you my box here. This is the box that I went and got at the roasting event for the chilies. This is the 10-pound box, and I tell you, when I brought it home, my husband was like, that's a lot of chilies. And I said, well, they actually go up to 25-pound boxes that they have, but this is the 10-pound box. These are the medium chilies, meaning these are the medium heat level chilies, and you want to handle them with gloves. They do give you a pack of gloves actually at the chili roast, as well as some information about how to store your chilies, and so we're going to be storing our chilies as well. Now, how you store your Hatch chilies is that they recommend that if you're going to freeze them, and I'm going to be freezing these chilies because throughout the rest of the year, throughout the next several months, I've got some wonderful recipes that I'm going to be making and sharing with all of you. So I'm going to be freezing them in these bags that I'm going to put about four to five chilies, depending on the size. But I'm going to put about 4 to 5 chilies in these smaller bags, and then you want to lay them flat. And when you store them for freezing, you want to leave the roast on, the roasting part, that black part that's on the chili, you want to leave that on. That's what they recommend that you do. And then you're going to freeze them, and then I'll just thaw them as I need to use them for my different recipes. And we're also going to freeze them flat. So you want to make sure that your chilies are going to be flat in your freezer, as well as nice and flat in one even layer in your bag. Now to take the char off, and these are the ones that I've kept to the side that I'm using this weekend. Some of these are the ones that I had earlier that I shared with you that I used when I made our dip. And so what you do is, I like to use a spoon, and you want to scrape off all the char off of your chilies, and be gentle because you don't want to pull at it too much, and you don't want to take off too much of the flesh. You just want to take off that char that's on there. And then you see how I'm splitting the chili, and the chili will split open pretty easily. It's nice and soft after the roasting, and I use my spoon and I go ahead and I just kind of scrape down just like that to get rid of the seeds. And so you're probably going to be able to get rid of about 98% of the seeds. If you have a few seeds here and there, that's fine, but you do want to get rid of as much as you can, the majority of the seeds. If you try to get rid of every single seed, you'll just kind of drive yourself crazy. So you just make sure that you get rid of most of the seeds that it's in the inside, and most of the seeds that happen to attach to the outside. And then I just put them to the side in my little container right here, and I'm going to be using those. I'm going to chop up some and stir fry them with a little bit of olive oil and make some eggs. So I'm going to be doing that as well. I'm going to put some in some refried beans. I might make some chilaquiles with them as well. If not this weekend, maybe the following weekend. And when you freeze your Hatch chilies, they'll stay in the freezer up to 18 months, and that way you can use them over time as you need them. Well, I am all done getting my chilies cleaned up. I've bagged them up. I'm going to go ahead clean up the kitchen here. I have the ones that I'm going to be using for today's recipe. They are ready to go. They look good, and it smells so good. The chili smells so good. My box is all empty. That was 10 pounds of roasted chilies that I went on and sorted. The last thing I do is I take my smaller bags and I put them in a larger zipper bag so I can take them out in small portions. And then I use some of my larger freezer bags, and I will freeze in those larger bags 10 to 12 when I'm making a bigger recipe and I'm going to have family over. Well, now I'm making my homemade flour tortillas. Now in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients I use to make all my recipes. In addition to that, I'll also have the link and also the recipe for my homemade flour tortillas. So if you've never made them before, I'll have a wonderful video to share with you, and the link will be in the description. So I'm going to make some roasted garlic. So for the roasted garlic, I have one big head of garlic, or a medium size, whatever head you find. Then I'm going to cut off about a fourth to about a third the top, because you know the size of the garlic, you have some pieces that sit up high, some pieces that sit low. So you want to try to get all the head of garlic. I go ahead and do that. These little other pieces, I'm going to put those to the side because I'm going to be using those. And then I take a piece of foil. I'm going to put some olive oil. This is about a couple of tablespoons of olive oil that I put on top. And you can roast more than one at a time. And I usually still like to do a couple of tablespoons per each garlic that I like to do. And then you want to wrap it tightly in the foil. Keep it on a cookie sheet. It's going to bake in our oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes up to 60 minutes, depending on your preference. But it's done when you can check it at 30 minutes. I like to do mine at 30 minutes. But if you want it more caramelized, then that will go up to 60 minutes. When it's nice and soft and it's slightly brown is when it's ready. And this is what our roasted garlic looks like. I love using roasted garlic and just spreading it on like a toasty baguette too. It's awesome. Well, this is going to be for the recipe that my friend who's from New Mexico, she lives there, she's native, and she told me this is how they love to do their Hatch chilies during Hatch chili season. They take homemade flour tortillas that we made. In a bowl, we put some of the chopped, roasted, and seeded Hatch chilies. I'm going to start off using 1 clove of our roasted garlic. I'll put in a pinch of salt, and then you use your spoon and you want to go ahead and mush the roasted garlic. It's nice and soft. You want to mush that in with the salt and with the chilies. Just go ahead and mix it around. This is one of those recipes where you add a little bit and then a little bit, and you bring it up to your taste, and that's how my friend shared the recipe with me. And so I'm going to add a little bit more of the Hatch chilies, about one more Hatch chili. So in here I have about 2.5 Hatch chilies, I would say. I'm going to give it a taste for the seasoning to see if I need to put any more of the roasted garlic or if I need to put any more salt. I think I'm going to add one more of the roasted garlic cloves, and then I'm also going to add a little bit more salt as well. I'm going to go ahead and mix all my ingredients together. Be sure that you do mush your garlic cloves, and so that way they're mixed and blended in well with the salt and also with your chilies. Our flour tortillas have come out so well, and I have to thank my sister-in-laws again. Through trial and error over the years, they have taught me, and they have come out so good, and now I can make some jam and flour tortillas, y'all. And so I go ahead and I put some of that mixture of the garlic, the salt, and the chilies. This first bite's for you. Go ahead and take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite and see how we did. Oh my goodness, this is so good. It is so simple. It is just chilies, the garlic, and the salt. Well, that is it for me today. These are all the wonderful recipes that I made today with my Hatch chilies. I hope you give them a try. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Don't forget to click that notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen. Show this video some love, give it a thumbs up, and click share, and share this video with a friend or family. You'll find a list of ingredients and links in the description box below. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.